Imagine this. A storm rages outside, lightning cracks across a blackened sky, and the wind howls as if the earth itself is crying out in pain. Yet in the middle of this chaos, a lone figure stands unmoved. Calm, silent, unshaken. It's not because the storm is weak, it's ferocious, relentless, but because the figure has mastered something far greater, the storm within. Wisdom seekers, have you ever felt the pull of anger? That spark of frustration when someone cuts you off in traffic? That sting when someone hurls words meant to wound? Or that simmering rage when life doesn't go your way? It's as if the world has mastered the art of pushing your buttons, and you're left to react over and over again. But what if you could break free? What if no one, absolutely no one, had the power to rattle your peace? You see, the answer isn't found in controlling the chaos of the world. It's in controlling yourself. And this isn't just a modern self-help cliché. This truth has been known for millennia, whispered through the corridors of ancient Rome, discussed in the vibrant marketplaces of Athens, and etched into the hearts of the greatest minds in history. It's the philosophy of the unshakable, the art of living without anger, fear, or frustration. Today, we delve deep into the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, a way of life practiced by emperors, warriors, and scholars who refused to be enslaved by their emotions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is what we're here to unlock. In this journey, we will uncover 8 profound strategies that will change the way you see yourself, others, and the world. These are not quick fixes or shallow hacks. They are the very foundations of a life lived in mastery. Each strategy will peel back the layers of what it means to be truly untouchable by the irritations of others. By the end of this, you won't just be someone who avoids anger, you'll be someone who is truly free. But before we begin, let me ask you, are you ready to step into a state of mind where no insult can harm you, no betrayal can break you, and no obstacle can shake you? Because this is more than just avoiding anger. This is about reclaiming the throne of your own soul. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every like, subscribe helps us continue our mission of sharing knowledge. Ready to unlock more wisdom? Let's get started. Strategy 1. The mirror of perception. Have you ever wondered why 2 people can experience the same event but feel entirely different about it? Imagine a man walking down a busy street. Someone bumps into him, spilling his coffee. One man curses under his breath, his frustration bubbling over for the rest of the day. Another simply sighs, takes a napkin to clean up, and continues on, unaffected. The difference? It's not in what happened, it's in what they thought about what happened. This is the essence of the Stoic teaching from Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. It's easy to assume the external world dictates your emotions, but Stoicism teaches us that our feelings come not from events themselves, but from our interpretations of those events. This is why understanding the power of perception is the first and most essential step toward mastering anger and becoming unbothered by anyone. The human mind is like a mirror. It reflects the world, but not in its true form. It colors the reflection with personal judgments, expectations, and stories. Imagine looking into a mirror smudged with fingerprints and dust. The image you see is distorted, not because the reality in front of you is flawed, but because the lens is dirty. When someone insults you, the insult itself is not the problem. It's the interpretation you apply. This person is disrespecting me, or they're trying to hurt me. The insult is neutral until your mind gives it meaning. To see clearly, you must clean the mirror of your perception. The Stoics practiced this by constantly challenging their initial thoughts about situations. When Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, was confronted with difficulties, he didn't immediately label them as good or bad. Instead, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that while he couldn't control what others did or said, he could always control how he perceived it. So how do you apply this in daily life? Start by pausing. When something or someone triggers you, resist the urge to react instantly. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is it helping me or is it harming me? This moment of reflection gives you the power to choose your response rather than letting your emotions dictate it for you. Consider a real-world example. A driver cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate reaction might be anger. How dare they? But pause and ask yourself, what's another way to see this? Maybe they didn't see you. Maybe they're rushing to a hospital. Maybe it has nothing to do with you at all. The situation hasn't changed, but your interpretation has. And with that shift, the anger dissipates. This isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending negative events don't happen. It's about recognizing that the stories you tell yourself are what fuel your emotions. Change the story, and you change your reaction. When you do this consistently, you'll find that fewer and fewer things bother you. It's not because the world becomes kinder. It's because you've become stronger. This practice also builds resilience over time. The more you train yourself to reframe situations, the less power external events will have over you. You'll notice that the things which used to anger you now seem insignificant. Someone interrupts you in a meeting, you smile and carry on. A stranger makes a rude comment, you shrug it off. Why? Because you've realized that their actions don't define your peace. Only your perception does. By mastering the mirror of perception, you unlock the ability to see the world not as something that happens to you, but as something that simply happens. And in that understanding lies a freedom that no one can take away. Strategy 2. The fortress of self-control. Anger often feels like a storm, sweeping through your mind with the force of a hurricane. But what if you could stand like an unshakable fortress in the midst of that storm? This is what the Stoics meant by self-control. Not suppression of emotions, but mastery over them. The fortress is not built to deny the existence of the storm, it's built to withstand it. The Stoics believed that anger is born from unmet expectations. When reality doesn't match what you believe should happen, frustration arises. Someone speaks to you rudely, and your expectation of respect is violated. A plan goes awry, and your expectation of control is shattered. At its core, anger is the clash between your desires and the world as it is. Seneca, the great Roman Stoic, wrote extensively about anger, calling it a brief madness. He observed that anger clouds judgment, leads to rash decisions, and ultimately harms the one who feels it more than the one it's directed toward. Seneca's advice: no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. He saw challenges, not as reasons for anger, but as opportunities to strengthen self-control. So how do you become the fortress? The first step is awareness. Pay attention to your triggers. What kinds of situations or people tend to provoke you? Is it a critical remark? A perceived injustice? Identifying these triggers gives you the power to anticipate them and prepare yourself. Next, practice delaying your reaction. When anger arises, resist the urge to act on it immediately. This might feel counterintuitive. Anger wants to be expressed, but delaying gives you time to regain clarity. Count to 10. Take a walk. Breathe deeply. Each of these small actions creates space between the emotion and your response. Another powerful tool is setting realistic expectations. Remember that the world owes you nothing. People will make mistakes, plans will fail, traffic will be slow. Accepting this reality doesn't mean you're lowering your standards. It means you're freeing yourself from the illusion that everything must go your way. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, and a colleague interrupts you. Your instinct is to snap back, to assert your authority. But instead you pause. You remind yourself, their behavior reflects on them, not me. I am in control of how I respond. You choose calm. This simple act of self-control shifts the entire dynamic of the situation. You've shown strength, not weakness. Over time, this practice becomes second nature. You start to notice that the things which used to anger you no longer have the same effect. It's not that you've stopped caring, it's that you've stopped letting external events dictate your inner peace. You've built a fortress so strong that no storm can shake it, and here's the truth. Self-control is not a one-time achievement. It's a daily practice, a skill you refine with every challenge you face. The more you build your fortress, the more untouchable you become. And in that untouchability, you'll find a power greater than any fleeting satisfaction anger could ever bring. Strategy 3. The Art of Indifference. Picture this. A Stoic figure stands before a crowd shouting insults. Their faces are red with rage, their words laced with venom. Yet the figure remains still, unshaken, as though the words bounce harmlessly off an invisible shield. This is the power of indifference, a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom. It is not the cold indifference of apathy, but a deliberate choice to remain unaffected by things outside your control. The Stoics teach us to divide life into two categories: what is within our control and what is not. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What others say, what they think of you, how they act, these things are beyond your control. Why, then, should you allow them to disturb your peace? Indifference is the practice of letting go of attachment to external outcomes. When someone criticizes you, their words are just that, words. They have no power over you unless you give them power. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." To truly embrace indifference, you must let go of the need for approval or validation from others. Their opinions, after all, are shaped by their own biases and limitations, not by any universal truth about you. This doesn't mean becoming passive or uncaring. It means focusing your energy where it truly matters, on your own actions, thoughts, and character. If someone accuses you of wrongdoing, examine yourself honestly. If their accusation is false, let it pass as meaningless noise. If it has merit, use it as an opportunity for growth. Either way, their words cannot touch the core of who you are unless you allow them to. Consider how often we let trivial things bother us. A stranger cutting in line, a snide remark on social media, a coworker's bad mood. Each of these situations tempts us to react, to let our emotions flare. But by practicing indifference, you can rise above such provocations. Instead of engaging, you simply observe, as though watching a passing cloud. You realize that these moments, so fleeting and insignificant, are not worth sacrificing your peace. Indifference also means embracing amor fati, the love of fate. The Stoic concept teaches us to accept life as it is, not as we wish it to be. When things go wrong, when plans fall apart, when people disappoint us, our instinct is to resist, to fight against reality. But this resistance only creates suffering. By choosing indifference, you align yourself with the flow of life. You stop fighting the current and begin to move with it. Think of it this way. Life is like a river, constantly changing, full of twists and turns. You can't control the river's course, but you can control how you navigate it. The art of indifference is about learning to let go of the need to control the uncontrollable. It's about trusting that, whatever happens, you have the strength to endure it. When you master this practice, you become unshakable. Insults lose their sting. Failures become lessons. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter and focus instead on what does. Living a life of virtue, wisdom, and purpose. Strategy 4. The practice of empathy. There is a powerful weapon against anger that few consider: empathy. To see the world through the eyes of others, to understand their struggles, fears, and flaws, this is not just an act of kindness, it's an act of strength. When you practice empathy, you strip away the fuel that ignites anger. The Stoics understood that anger often arises from misunderstanding. When someone behaves poorly, our instinct is to take it personally. We assume malice where there may be ignorance or pain. But Seneca reminds us, we are all wicked. What does it matter if one person lashes out against another? In other words, we are all flawed. And to expect perfection from others is to set yourself up for perpetual disappointment. When someone wrongs you, instead of reacting with anger, pause and consider their perspective. What might they be going through? What pain or fear might be driving their behavior? This doesn't excuse their actions, but it helps you understand them. And in understanding, you dissolve the power of anger. Imagine a colleague snaps at you during a meeting. Your first reaction might be to feel disrespected, to snap back. But what if he stopped and thought, maybe they're under a lot of pressure. Maybe something is happening in their personal life that I don't know about. This shift in perspective changes everything. You no longer see them as an adversary, but as a human being struggling in their own way. The practice of empathy also requires humility. It's easy to judge others for their faults while overlooking our own. But when you remember your own imperfections, you become more compassionate toward the imperfections of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This exercise not only softens your judgment, but also reminds you of your shared humanity. Empathy doesn't mean becoming a doormat or tolerating harmful behavior. It means responding to others with understanding rather than hostility. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, empathy allows you to address the situation calmly and constructively. You can set boundaries without anger because you're approaching the situation from a place of clarity and strength. By practicing empathy, you also free yourself from the need for retaliation. When you understand why someone acts the way they do, you no longer feel the need to punish them. Instead, you can let go, knowing their actions are a reflection of their own struggles, not of your worth. Over time, this practice transforms your relationships. You become someone who doesn't just react to others, but seeks to understand them. This doesn't just protect your peace, it inspires others to be better. When you respond to anger with empathy, you break the cycle of negativity and create space for growth and connection. In mastering empathy, you gain a profound insight. Most of the time, people's actions have nothing to do with you. They're simply projecting their own fears, insecurities, and pain. And when you see this clearly, you realize there's no need to be angry. Instead, you can choose compassion, and in that choice, you free yourself. Strategy 5: the mastery of detachment. Imagine holding a glass vase in your hands, delicate and beautiful. You cherish it, but deep down, you know it's fragile. One day, it might slip and shatter. Now, ask yourself, would you live in constant fear of that moment, or would you cherish the vase while it lasts, understanding its impermanence? This mindset is at the heart of detachment, the ability to appreciate without clinging, to love without becoming enslaved, and to live without being shackled by fear or anger. The Stoics believed that much of our anger stems from attachment. We attach ourselves to outcomes, possessions, and relationships, and when reality doesn't align with our desires, frustration arises. Detachment is not about abandoning these things, but about shifting your relationship with them. As Epictetus advised, when you kiss your child, say to yourself, "I am kissing a mortal." This isn't a cold or cynical perspective. It's a reminder to embrace the fleeting nature of life. Detachment allows you to live with an open hand, rather than a clenched fist. When someone betrays you, for example, anger often flares because of your expectation that they would act differently. But what if you detached from that expectation? What if you accepted that people are fallible and that their actions are not always within your control? This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to life's joys. On the contrary, detachment deepens your appreciation for them. When you understand that everything is temporary, you savor each moment more fully, knowing it won't last forever. Instead of fearing loss, you embrace the present. Detachment also empowers you to let go of grudges and grievances. When someone offends you, the anger lingers because you cling to the memory of their actions. But what if you released it? What if you saw their behavior as a passing moment, like a leaf carried by the wind? When you detach from the need for revenge or vindication, you free yourself from the chains of resentment. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the impermanence of life as a means of cultivating detachment. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This awareness of mortality can be a powerful motivator to let go of petty irritations. When you remember that your time is limited, you realize how precious it is and how little of it should be wasted on anger. To practice detachment, start by observing your thoughts and feelings. Notice when you become overly attached to an outcome or an expectation. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, remind yourself that clinging to it will only lead to frustration. Detachment doesn't mean withdrawing from life or relationships. It means engaging fully while maintaining your inner freedom. You can love deeply without clinging, work passionately without being defined by success or failure, and live richly without being enslaved by possessions or desires. When you master detachment, you become unshakable. Insults lose their sting because you're not attached to others' opinions. Losses no longer devastate you because you've embraced the impermanence of all things. And anger, which so often arises from unmet attachments, fades into the background. Strategy 6. The shield of gratitude. Picture this. A man sits under a tree, the sun warming his face, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers. He closes his eyes and whispers a quiet prayer of thanks, not for anything extraordinary, but for the simple gift of being alive. This is the power of gratitude, a practice that can transform even the most turbulent emotions into profound peace. The Stoics understood that anger often arises from focusing on what's missing or wrong in our lives. When someone offends us, our minds fixate on the insult. When a plan goes awry, we dwell on the inconvenience. Gratitude is the antidote to this mindset. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have, from what went wrong to what is still good. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Gratitude helps ground you in reality, reminding you that no matter how challenging a situation may seem, there's always something to be thankful for. When someone angers you, pause and reflect. What about this situation can you be grateful for? If a colleague undermines you at work, you can be thankful for the opportunity to practice patience and resilience. If a stranger is rude, you can appreciate the reminder of how you don't wish to behave. Gratitude doesn't erase difficulties, but it reframes them, making them more bearable. Gratitude also protects you from entitlement, which is often the root of anger. When you expect the world to cater to your desires, every obstacle feels like an injustice. But when you approach life with gratitude, you see everything, even challenges, as a gift. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them." This perspective helps you rise above petty frustrations and see the bigger picture. To cultivate gratitude, make it a daily practice. Start each morning by listing 3 things you're thankful for, no matter how small. It could be the warmth of your bed, the taste of your coffee, or the support of a loved one. Throughout the day, whenever you feel irritation creeping in, pause and redirect your thoughts to something you appreciate in that moment. Gratitude also involves recognizing the contributions of others. When someone does something kind, however small, take the time to acknowledge it. When someone angers you, consider the good they may have done in the past. This doesn't mean ignoring wrongdoing, but it balances your perspective, making it harder for anger to take root. The shield of gratitude is not a passive defense. It's an active choice to focus on what uplifts rather than what tears down. It reminds you that life, with all its imperfections, is still a miracle. And when you hold that shield firmly, anger finds no place to land. By mastering the practice of gratitude, you cultivate a mindset that is resilient, peaceful, and profoundly joyful. Anger fades because you've replaced it with something far more powerful, an appreciation for the beauty and abundance of life. Strategy 7. The discipline of perspective. Imagine standing at the top of a mountain, looking out over a vast landscape. From this height, the cities below seem tiny, their noises and movements insignificant. This is the discipline of perspective, a deliberate effort to step back from the immediacy of your emotions and view life from a broader vantage point. It is one of the most powerful strategies for transcending anger and remaining unbothered by others. When someone insults you, betrays you, or causes frustration, it's easy to get lost in the moment, magnifying the offense until it feels all-consuming. But what if you could pause and ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most of the time, the answer is no. By zooming out, you see the situation for what it truly is, a fleeting moment in the vast expanse of your life. The Stoics were masters of perspective. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the impermanence of human affairs, writing, "Think of the vast expanse of time behind you and ahead of you, the boundless succession of ages to come. Your brief existence is nothing in comparison." This isn't meant to diminish your experiences, but to remind you of their proper scale. When you view your problems against the backdrop of eternity, they lose their ability to provoke anger. Another way to practice perspective is to consider the insignificance of others' opinions. When someone criticizes you, their words may sting, but in the grand scheme of things, they hold no power. Seneca observed, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Instead of reacting to their negativity, you can rise above it, choosing to focus on what truly matters: your own character and actions. Perspective also involves recognizing the shared struggles of humanity. When someone lashes out at you, consider their circumstances. What pressures or fears might be influencing their behavior? Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. By shifting your focus from their actions to your response, you reclaim your power. You can further cultivate perspective by reflecting on your values and priorities. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? When you keep this question in mind, you're less likely to let trivial provocations derail you. If your goal is to live a virtuous and peaceful life, then reacting with anger only takes you further from that goal. The discipline of perspective isn't about denying your emotions. It's about placing them in context, recognizing that they are temporary and often disproportionate to the situation. By training yourself to step back and view life from a wider angle, you gain clarity, wisdom, and peace. With perspective, you become like the mountain itself, steadfast and unmoved by the storms that rage around it. Others may try to provoke you, but their efforts are as insignificant as a gust of wind against the summit. Strategy 8. The power of inner strength. Finally, we come to the foundation of all Stoic strategies, inner strength. This is the ability to cultivate an unshakable core, a wellspring of resilience and self-mastery that no external force can disturb. It is the essence of Stoicism and the ultimate key to remaining unbothered by anyone. Inner strength begins with self-awareness. To master your emotions, you must first understand them. Anger often arises from fear. Fear of being disrespected, of losing control, of being vulnerable. When you recognize this, you can address the root cause of your anger, rather than being swept away by it. Marcus Aurelius advised you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength is cultivated through daily discipline. Just as a warrior trains their body, you must train your mind. Meditation, journaling, and reflection are powerful tools for building inner strength. Each day, take time to examine your thoughts and actions. Ask yourself, did I let someone else's behavior disturb my peace today? If so, why? Over time, this practice helps you identify patterns and develop greater control over your reactions. Another aspect of inner strength is self-reliance. The more you depend on others for validation or happiness, the more vulnerable you are to their actions. But when you cultivate a sense of self-worth that comes from within, you become immune to external provocations. Epictetus taught, seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. Inner strength also requires patience. Anger is often a response to unmet expectations or delays. When you cultivate patience, you learn to accept life's imperfections without losing your composure. Remember, the strongest trees are those that have weathered the harshest storms. Each challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger and more resilient. Finally, inner strength is rooted in purpose. When you have a clear sense of your values and goals, you're less likely to be derailed by trivial provocations. Consider what truly matters to you. Is it living a life of virtue, being a role model for others, leaving a positive legacy? When you stay focused on these higher aims, the petty actions of others lose their ability to disturb you. Inner strength is not something you achieve overnight. It is a lifelong practice, built through small, consistent efforts. But as you cultivate it, you'll find that the things that once angered or bothered you no longer have the same power. You'll face challenges with calm and confidence, knowing that your peace comes from within, not from the approval or behavior of others. In the end, the power of inner strength transforms not only how you respond to others, but how you live your life. You become a beacon of resilience, a source of calm in a chaotic world. And in mastering this final strategy, you unlock the ultimate freedom, the ability to remain unbothered, unshaken, and truly at peace, no matter what life throws your way. Final thoughts. Life is a series of encounters, some uplifting, others challenging, and many that test the boundaries of your patience and resolve. Along this journey, the actions and words of others will inevitably brush up against your peace, tempting you to anger, frustration, and bitterness. But you are not powerless in these moments. On the contrary, you hold within you the ability to transform every provocation into a lesson, every insult into an opportunity, and every challenge into a stepping stone toward mastery of yourself. The Stoics believed that the greatest victory is not over others, but over yourself. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on the fleeting nature of life, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This sentiment captures the essence of what we've explored together. Remaining unbothered by others is not about silencing the world or escaping its chaos. It's about cultivating an inner fortress that no storm can penetrate. The 8 strategies we've discussed are not quick fixes or shortcuts. They are lifelong practices, requiring patience, effort, and a willingness to look inward. Each strategy, whether it's controlling your response, practicing empathy, embracing detachment, or mastering inner strength, builds upon the others, forming a cohesive philosophy of resilience and peace. But perhaps the most profound realization is this: you have the power to choose. In every moment, regardless of what others do or say, you can choose how you respond. You can choose peace over anger, understanding over judgment, and purpose over distraction. The path of Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions or becoming indifferent to life. It's about rising above the noise to live in alignment with your highest values. As you move forward, remember that these strategies are tools to be used daily. Like any skill, they improve with practice. Some days will be harder than others, and there will be times when you falter. But each stumble is an opportunity to recommit to the journey, to remind yourself why you've chosen this path, and to take one more step toward becoming the person you aspire to be. Finally, never underestimate the ripple effect of your actions. When you remain calm in the face of provocation, when you respond to hostility with empathy, and when you hold fast to your principles, you inspire others to do the same. Your example becomes a light for those around you, proving that it is possible to live with dignity, grace, and unshakable peace. Wisdom seekers, the journey to mastering these strategies is not an easy one, but it is a worthy one. By embracing these practices, you don't just free yourself from the burden of anger, you elevate your life. You create a space within yourself where true joy, strength, and serenity can flourish. And so, the choice is yours. Will you let the words and actions of others dictate your state of mind? Or will you take the reins of your inner world, crafting a life that is resilient, purposeful, and free? The answer lies within you. Take these strategies to heart, apply them, and watch as the storms of life lose their power to unsettle you. The peace you seek is not something to be found, it is something to be created, and you, wisdom seekers, have everything you need to create it.